Cage Nation. Welcome to the Cage Nation. Welcome to the Cage Nation. No one can drop us, no one can stop us. We are the warriors, no one can top us, no one can rock us. We are the warriors, no one can drop us, no one can stop us. We are the warriors, no one can top us, no one can rock us. We are the warriors.
Yeah, that was an awesome intro.
Why are you talking so loud?
Sorry.
Ugh.
God, don't yell, okay? Yeah,
Cage Nation TV, we called it. It happened.
The post-fight hangover has begun.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's not terrible.
The fights were great.
The fights were great.
The hangover.
The fact that it's over is just... But we have the hair of the dog that bit ya. August 5th, Root Sports.
Aha.
8 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock?
Let's say tune into Root Sports at 7 o'clock anyway, because I think that's when the fight started. But if not...
Even better yet, check your local listings. Root Sports, you will be able to see Gladiators of the Cage on TV, and you will not regret watching it. I'll tell you what, it's fantastic. Although, being there live was even better.
And speaking of being there live, I want to thank Robert Joseph for... I mean, rolling out the red carpet. We were...
Absolutely.
It was great.
Well, we were... As we said in the recap, that we were treated like rock stars. It was just the rock star treatment. It was unbelievable. I mean, It was like we were part of the family, and we greatly appreciate that. It made us feel really good. And I know you guys were pleased with what we did, and we were pleased with what you did, and hopefully we can continue working with each other and, you know, promoting more of the fights. September 7th, coming up very soon.
But, you know, as they say, the show must go on, Drew. The show must go on, so we're going back to regularly scheduled programming. We're bringing you guys the MMA discussion forum.
We've had a lot of shows in the past week. I mean, I think 4 total, and it was just unbelievable. Do we want to touch really quick on touch upon any of the shows that we were at, other than Gladiators of the Cage? And I think you know the one we're talking about.
I think we've really said everything that we can say. Bad stuff went down. It wasn't really anyone's fault. You know, I don't kiss up to anybody. I mean, I report fair and objective news, and I think we did a great job of that.
Right, and you know, we don't suck up to promoters in order to be asked to their next event. That's not how we play. That's not what we do. We gave an objective view of that card in Altoona. It was hot. It was oppressive. That's just because the building's old.
That chair got KTFO'd.
It got knocked the... Yeah. But...
The important thing was, whenever we talked to you guys about it, we talked about what happened, not how we felt. And that's...
We try
to short of it.
We're trying to leave opinion out of it. We know that there's a lot of opinion concerning that card, and if you saw our recap, you heard at least one opinion from one of the fans who walked during the Brandon Lux interview. We've heard so many opinions on that, and we don't know what the status is of VFL, if there's going to be another Broad Avenue Brawlers series or not.
We hope there is. We maintain the status that everything that happened was not the promoter's fault. I mean, a promoter cannot stand by and be like, you can't eat that.
Right.
You're going to be overweight. You're fighting a middleweight and you're eating like a heavyweight.
Right. A promoter
can't do that.
Promoter cannot regulate a fighter's weight. The fighter must regulate the fighter's weight. The fighter knows what they have to weigh in at, and they're responsible ultimately for
Brandon
that.
Lux said the same thing during his interview.
Now, there were a couple other things that may have been questionable as far as, but we don't have solid...
Right.
We don't have solid facts on that, so we're not going to belabor those issues at all. We are just going to say that we wish Valley Fight League the best of luck in their future endeavors. Hopefully we will be invited back to cover their next card if they do indeed have another card in Altoona.
Right.
Moving on from that, and we're done with that issue. We're finished.
We said everything we need to say.
All right, and Gladiators of the Cage, again, awesome. Great job. A complete 180. And that was just fantastic, and we want to thank everybody again. We want to thank both promotions for having us out, and we greatly appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna get back to our regularly scheduled episode right now. We've got the newsreel coming up. We've got a segment coming up on the greatest grudges of MMA, Volume 1. And, of course, a discussion of the buzzword issue, which is...
Fighter pay.
There you go.
I'm not going to do a Cameron perspective this week, just because in all the history of mixed martial arts, and I've seen quite a bit of it, I've been there firsthand, I know that there are certain indicators that things are going to start getting big, so I think this is one of those ones where we should talk about it now. That way we don't have to go back and defend our statements later. We put our cards on the table, and we got all that and more coming up. Coming up next, the Cage Nation TV newsreel.
Yes, stay tuned. Now, watch this commercial where a baby may or may not be placed on a couch near the Grand Canyon.
Who would do that?
Mike Kessling.
Coming up next.
It's time for another edition of Cage Nation TV Newsreel, spanning the globe to bring you the latest news in MMA.
Well, the rematch between UFC middleweight champion Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva isn't until December, but the trash talking has already started. According to MMA Weekly and Yahoo Sports, Weidman's coach, Ray Longo, thinks it's going to be another bad night for Silva. Longo was recently interviewed on Shameless Radio about the December 28th rematch at UFC 168 and was quoted as saying the following, quote, "This guy had a highlight reel that would scare the crap out of anybody. Now, knowing that he can knock this guy out, you've seen it in boxing 100 times. Guys don't come back from that type of knockout. On top of that, the guy," referencing Silva, "is 40 or 39 or whatever he is. I don't see it," end quote. Longo also expects Weidman to have even more confidence heading into the December 28th rematch, which is expected to send pay-per-view buy rates into the stratosphere, and that Weidman is now equipped with the knowledge of what to expect. Well, let's just call her the Octagon's leading lady. It was announced via Twitter that Hollywood action movie genius Sylvester Stallone has cast UFC Women's Bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey in the third installment of his Expendables series. There's no word on what role Rousey will play in the film. The Expendables has been a showcase of the who's who in action movies, and we're sure that Ronda Rousey will do just fine. So when you were a kid, do you remember saying, "My dad can beat up your dad"? Well, in a few years, the Iceman Chuck Liddell's brand new baby boy will have those bragging rights for sure. Former UFC light heavyweight champion, the Iceman Chuck Liddell, welcomed the Iceman Jr. to the world. The baby's name is Charles David Liddell, and all reports are saying that mom and baby are doing just fine. From all of us at the Cage Nation, congratulations to the Iceman Chuck Liddell. Well, it looks like Jimmy-Quinlan won, death 0. The ex-UFC fighter and Ultimate Fighter alum has done his good deed for a while. The former Ultimate Fighter competitor saved a man's very life when he pulled that man from the wreckage of his truck that had overturned on Route 24 in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. After the event, Quinlan posted on Instagram, "So this just happened right in front of me. My hands and feet are bleeding from punching out his windshield to drag him out. Wish I had shoes on." It just goes to show that good people still exist in this world, even if they use their fists to make a living. This has been another edition of the Cage Nation TV Newsreel. Stay tuned to Cage Nation TV on Facebook for the latest in MMA news.
Since the dawn of furniture, there has been only one way to keep an infant from rolling off a couch or chair, and that is unsafely cramming cushions against the piece of furniture and hoping the baby doesn't work him or herself under them. Until now. Introducing the Zoster. The Zoster is a revolutionary infant safety product that easily wraps around a cushion to keep your baby from rolling off a couch or chair. The Zoster is made with a fleece material complete with a waterproof underneath to keep various liquids away from your upholstery. The Zoster is currently available in solid colors and pattern designs. You can order the Zoster online today at thezoster.com.
Welcome back to Cage Nation TV. There wasn't a baby on a couch in the Grand Canyon. There was just a baby on a couch with a very fine product that was just featured on England's version of Good Morning America on ITV. So congrats to everybody over at Warner Innovative Solutions and the Zoster that is going to be coming soon to Amazon.com as well. So if you have a baby, much like maybe, I don't know, Chuck Liddell, Chuck.
Hey, congratulations, Chuck.
If you're watching,
get the Zoster.
Get the Zoster.
You'll thank us.
That's right.
You'll thank Warner's.
You'll thank Warner's. You'll thank us. Thank us.
Thank us. Yeah.
We're telling you
call
about
us,
it.
Chuck. I mean, we'd like to interview you.
Totally.
All right, Drew.
I don't think that's how it works.
No.
All right.
Drew, I think we kind of hit the nail on the head in the newsreel about Weidman versus Silva.
Yes, we did.
The smack talk is starting to fly, and I love it.
And the card is happening December 28th. This is what, July still?
July, yes.
I mean, Wow.
So, to celebrate the occasion of the Smack Talk already starting, I thought it'd be fun to count down 5 of some of MMA's greatest grudges. I'm not saying this is definite because, I mean, we all have differing opinions, right? You guys don't always agree with what Albert Cameron says. Albert Cameron doesn't always care all the time. I'm starting to soften up a little bit. I haven't done a What's Eating Albert Cameron in half a year.
I thought that turned into the Cameron perspective.
It did. It did. I'm trying to be more positive. But, you know, there's kids on the internet and, you know, they're always going to make you mad. But,
well, way to promote positivity, Albert.
Counting down 5 of MMA's biggest grudges. We're going to get, Drew, you're going to be the referee for these grudges. I'll be play-by-play. Where do we start?
I didn't dress for the occasion. I'm sorry. I should have worn the striped shirt. We start at Kazushi Sakuraba, taking on the Gracie family.
Do you know who takes on the Gracie family in MMA?
Nobody.
Nobody. I mean, Ken Shamrock did it. He didn't win UFC 1.
Right.
Dan Severn did it. He didn't win UFC 4. So the Gracie family's huge. Now, after they parted ways with their involvement with the UFC, they went over to the Pride FC organization. And do you know who's greeting them? The IQ wrestler, Kazushi Sakuraba. Mm-hmm. From this series, Sakuraba beat Hoyler, Hyen, Henzo, and Hoist, all starting with R's.
What? I don't understand.
It's Portuguese.
Oh.
It's Portuguese.
Then I wouldn't understand.
So this series was so nasty that Kazushi Sakuraba actually earned the nickname the Gracie Hunter. Now, of course, if you're as involved in MMA history as I am, we all know that there was one Gracie in particular we were trying to get Sakuraba in the ring with, and it wasn't CM Punk.
Oh, sorry. Well, he trained with the Gracie camp.
He trained with the Gracie camp, but the one Gracie we were trying to get Kazushi Sakuraba in the ring with was Rickson Gracie. Mm-hmm. Rickson Gracie was Elio Gracie's, I don't want to say favorite son, but, you know, whenever UFC was happening and Royce Gracie was taking names, it was very public knowledge that Royce wasn't even the best jiu-jitsu guy in the family. It was Rickson. So now we're trying to get Sakuraba, we're trying to get Rickson in the same ring. I apologize. That never happened.
Right.
So time goes on, guys get older. Royce Gracie finally defends the family's honor at a K1 Dynamite and defeats Kazushi Sakuraba by unanimous decision. And then little nephew, grandson, third cousin removed, Halek Gracie, comes along and says, it's for Uncle Henzo. So, the final score, Drew?
That would be Sakuraba 4, Gracie's dose. All right, our next bout. Frank the Legend Shamrock versus the New York Badass Phil Baroni.
You know what the great thing about Phil Baroni is?
That he's the badass of New York.
Do you know how you get a nickname like the New York Badass?
You kick a lot of ass in New York.
Exactly. And you do a lot of talking. I mean, Phil Baroni is probably one of the best trash talkers that MMA has got. Now, Frank Shamrock's nickname is the Legend. You get the nickname the Legend by just decimating everybody.
By being legendary.
By being legendary. And Frank Shamrock actually retired from the UFC citing lack of competition. This guy is so immense that he says the UFC, the world's most, you know, legendary tournament, is just not enough for me. So then time goes on, he comes out of retirement, Phil Baroni starts talking smack. They signed a fight, and I can't remember what promotion it is right now, but I'm sure my fact checkers will tell me. They signed a bout agreement. Phil Baroni had to back out. So what does Frank Shamrock do? Frank Shamrock films a video where he's smoking a cigar saying, you know what, I'm not concerned about my cardio because Phil Baroni punked out. Well, the fight did end up happening in Strikeforce. Phil Baroni and Frank Shamrock, they threw down. Frank Shamrock ended up winning the fight by rear naked choke, and you know what the real icing on the cake was?
What, Albert? What was it?
It was Phil Baroni testing positive for steroids. You jerk.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're going to talk smack and you're going to test positive for steroids.
What balls he has.
Indeed.
I know it's a family show, isn't it? Well, we just said badass, so we'll say balls too. So, he was given a year suspension for that.
A whole year. In California.
Right.
California suspensions, other athletic commissions generally take from each other. So, I mean, if he wasn't fighting in California, he probably wasn't fighting in Nevada or New Jersey either.
So let's take a look at the scorecard. Final score, Shamrock 1, Baroni, goose egg. Coming up next, George St. Pierre versus Nick. I ducked another interview recently in California and made the guy mad on Twitter, whatever social media site, Diaz.
He ducked another interview?
You didn't read the Cage Nation TV Facebook?
Oh, yes I did.
Facebook.com/Cage Nation TV. check it out.
Nick Diaz likes to talk, apparently just not in front of reporters.
That's apparently what his deal is, I guess.
He wins the fight. He calls out George St. Pierre. He's like, "Hey, Georgie, where are you?" George St. Pierre got offended.
You don't call George St. Pierre Georgie. No.
I mean, not unless you want your grill.
Unless you're his mother.
Right. I'm sure Mama St. Pierre calls him Georgie. But anyway, George St. Pierre gets offended. He says he's in a real dark place right now. He's gonna hurt Nick Diaz. He hurt Nick Diaz. He won their fight by unanimous decision, and now we're struggling to get Nick Diaz in front of a reporter. And George St. Pierre is still the welterweight champion. So where's that put our scorecard, Drew?
Final score: GSP 1, Diaz nothing.
You just should have showed up to the interview.
Next up, Rowdy Ronda Rousey versus Miesha Cupcake Tate.
Women's MMA is just what it is. It's MMA. I mean, the fact that they, have the XX chromosome as opposed to the XY is really irrelevant. They are two fighters who are destined to do battle in a cage.
Look, they want to kick ass. They want to beat each other up. We've got no issue with that. The sexes are equal, in our opinion, in MMA.
I am equal opportunity wanting to see people get hit in the face.
Exactly.
Okay. So Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate start bickering with each other back in Strikeforce. Miesha Tate says Ronda Rousey's never really been tested. Miesha Tate was a wrestler in high school. Says Ronda Rousey's never been tested. So they fight in Strikeforce. Do you know how that fight ended? First round armbar. As all of her 7 fights have ended.
I'm looking for guidance from you, pal. So
well, all 7 of Ronda Rousey's fights have ended by first round armbar. So Ronda Rousey comes to the UFC because Uncle Dana, who said women will never fight in the UFC, women are now fighting in the UFC. Thank you, Ronda, for that big step in equality. I mean, she really did advocate for women in the UFC when Strikeforce was bought out. So Ronda Rousey and Kat Zingano are going to coach the next season of The Ultimate Fighter. Kat gets injured in that fight, so Miesha Tate's going to step in. Now, Miesha Tate put Ronda Rousey on blast for doing the ESPN body issue. Drew, tell me what you think Miesha Tate did after that.
Body issue?
She did the body issue. So, I mean, is that a little bit of pot calling the kettle black?
I don't care. They both look hot naked. That's all I'm going to say.
Anyway, Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey are getting ready to throw down at the finale of the Season 18 Ultimate Fighter season. Now, Dana White has said that these two do not like each other. Like, there is love lost, there's bad blood, that the craziness is just as bad as whenever Ken and Tito were coaches for the Ultimate Fighter. That's how bad it's going to get.
So December 28th, do we even have a score yet? Because we've got to wait till December 28th to actually get a full score.
Miesha Tate has the opportunity to settle it, to even that score up, but right now...
It's not the final score as far as I'm concerned,
right.
But the score now, Rousey 1, Tate 0, but in Looking Good Naked, they're dead even. It's tied. I've got no problem with that. Thank you, Sports Illustrated. Thank you very much.
We got one more, Drew.
You could wonder why I'm single. That's it. The world's most dangerous man and recent Cage Nation TV guest, Ken Shamrock, taking on the Huntington Beach bad boy who has not been on our show yet. Will he? God only knows. Mr. Jenna Jameson himself, Tito Ortiz. Actually, after me calling him Mr. Jenna Jameson, he probably won't want to be on our show. He'll probably just want to kick my ass.
It's possible. It is possible.
Oh.
Tito Ortiz versus Ken Shamrock is one of those feuds that has its root deep in MMA. The Ken Shamrock had the first super gym in all of MMA. It was the Lion's Den. He named everything after the Lion's Den. He even had a professional wrestling match called the Lion's Den.
Yes.
So in the Lion's Den, he had a couple of really good fighters: Mikey Burnett, P.D. Williams, Jerry Bolander, and Guy Mesger. Tito Ortiz fought Bolander and Mesger consecutively and completely disrespected them both. What happens when you get picked on? Pops comes along and...
Breaks out a six-pack of whoop ass is what Pops does.
Exactly. Well, Ken is Pops in this scenario, and Pops got beat up by the middle schooler. Tito Ortiz really He won the fight. It wasn't like huge decimation, but you know, Ken lost the fight. So the thing you do after a fight that close, you go right for the rematch. And that's when Ken breaks out the famous line at the press conference, "I'm going to beat you into a living death." You know, when you're the world's most dangerous man, you get a pass on those kind of things.
It doesn't get more intimidating than that.
No, I mean, if Ken's going to beat you into a living death, I don't know what one is, but I'm sure he's the world's most dangerous man. He will find a way to beat you into it.
Yes.
So Tito Ortiz wins that fight. So we're getting ready. We're setting up for the rubber match. The rubber match comes from Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz coaching season 3 of The Ultimate Fighter. Tensions were high. They were bickering with each other. Fighters were fighting, and people were losing, and Ken was getting angry, and people were throwing things. It was exciting television. The drama was back. You know, we wanted to see this fight because there's that genuine anger and ill feeling. Tito won that fight. And at that point, Ken's like, you know what? I'm just going to squash the beef. There's nothing I can prove by fighting Tito Ortiz again. So, you know, that was their feud.
Final score. I don't want to read this because I like Ken. We talked to Ken. Ken was a nice guy.
We like Ken.
Ortiz 3, Shamrock 0. However, my scorecard would have Shamrock ahead because Ortiz was dating Jenna Jameson. Seriously, I mean, let's think about that. Looking back, looking at things now, who really wins? Shamrock.
Well, Shamrock's wife never tweeted pictures of like his drawer that has like hypodermics and stuff into it and Diet Coke. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Tito, if you want to air your side of the story on Cage Nation TV, get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you. If you promise not to hit Drew, you gotta promise that.
I don't think that's gonna. No, he's gonna hit me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Volume 1 of MMA's Great Grudges. You know, the grudges never stop. We could be bringing you other great grudges.
Yep.
Later on down the line.
It's that post-fight hangover. You all right?
No, you're talking too loud again.
All right.
Anyway.
Gladiators of the Cage.
Ah! Loud! Chris.
You know what does it for me?
What?
Advil and Gatorade. You know what my buddies use? My friends Andy Munch and Brian Stanko back home in Warren, PA. If you're watching, hey guys. Pedialyte. That's what they use for their hangovers.
I've actually heard that before.
But actually, we're talking about a different kind of hangover, not the fight hangover. So, moving on. Coming up, we're going to have the hot topic. And no, we're not talking about a store with goth clothing and all sorts of other paraphernalia that I would shop in. No, we're talking about the hot topic of the day. What? I'll have you know I bought this at a live event.
Oh.
I didn't buy this at Hot Topic.
Oh.
No,
Hot Topic's a good store anyway. Natalie over there is huge. But I digress.
Natalie celebrating a birthday today as we take this, so happy birthday to her. Celicia, everybody over at Hot Topic, fantastic. Now that they're not going to sponsor us. Wish they would, but what are you going to do? The hot topic is fighter pay, and Albert's going to have that here in just a few. We're going to talk about medical suspensions in Pennsylvania for July. We're going to throw that up here in just a bit, and then we'll be back with the hot topic on Cage Nation TV. Stick around. All right, there's your medical suspensions in Pennsylvania for July. And I'll tell you what, I talked to Jessica Richmond after the fight.
Yes.
I was actually coming from the bathroom to head back to my seat for one of the bouts. And she was standing there, she was talking. She looked fine. I had no idea that there was any issue whatsoever with her breaking her nose.
I think we had a suspicion whenever between rounds they were cleaning blood off Jamie Chesney. And we realized that she didn't have a cut on her.
Right.
That's where we started to get the idea that there may have been broken orifices.
And then we actually spoke to Jamie Chesney in the parking lot after the event. She was on her way to the after party, and unfortunately we were on our way home because I would have loved to party with Jamie Chesney and everybody on that card. That would have been fun. But and she informed us then of the broken nose, and it's not your average broken nose. Apparently, she said it was split down the middle. And I was talking to people this week.
How do you break a nose like that?
Exactly. How does that happen?
Like, you know, there's a lot of cartilage in there, but I mean, to break the nose vertically, I mean, you're talking like major septum damage.
Right. And like I said, she seemed to be fine when I talked to her after the fight, and you know, there was no visible damage or anything like that. But obviously, that's internal, so you're not going to see much. But wow, just unbelievable. But anyways, and there you go. That's
those are your medical suspensions for July.
Medical suspensions for July. Yes, we'll have medical suspensions in August as soon as the month ends, because that just stands to reason.
True. Why not?
Right now, let's get to the hot topic. And the hot topic this week on Cage Nation TV. Actually, this is our inaugural hot topic
yeah, this is the first week we're not doing a camera perspective. We're actually doing a hot topic segment, so we're making history.
The hot topic segment this week, fighter pay. And the segment is fighter pay.
A lot of guys are taking to social media and they're saying I'm not getting paid that well.
Let's do that. Okay. Coming out of the graphic.
Yep.
Please.
5, 4, 3.
Boop. And Albert, the hot topic this week is fighter pay.
It's not so long ago where I remember guys who were getting paid $400 to fight on a card, $100 to fight on a card. If they were getting paid at all, they just wanted to fight.
Right.
We've come a long way from that. But, you know, we do have guys who are only fighting 2 or 3 times a year, and they're not clearing what they hope they can make.
Right.
What they believe they can draw. Now, I'm a firm believer that guys who can draw are getting paid what they deserve. So Anderson Silva's clearing $200,000 because he's consistently putting butts in seats. Brock Lesnar got paid $250,000 for a title win.
Right.
He's a world champion. I get that. There are a lot of guys who are in the middle of the pack who, you know, fight too much to maintain a day job, but they aren't getting paid what the main eventers are getting paid. So now, you know, this quality of life suffer. Well, perhaps, you know, that middle class, if you will, is in a rough spot.
Right. You take a guy that's getting paid $30,000 for one fight, and then when's he going to fight again? Probably 6 months down the road, and then he's going to get another payday. In between there, that's 6 months. He's got to try and make that money stretch out from 1 month to the next, all the way to the next fight.
Well, not just that, but I mean, fight camps, they're expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to pay trainers to come in and help you train.
You've got trainers, you've got fight camps, you've got
sparring partners.
Yeah.
Bills. I mean, we all got bills.
Exactly, and that's my point, is you've got to make that 30 grand stretch for 6 months. Now, 30 grand to a lot of people is a year's pay.
Right. But I mean, you're fighting twice a year. I mean, 30 grand is essentially a year's pay.
Right.
It's just that, you know, I get it, guys. I get why we're frustrated. You know, like, I'd like to see everyone in MMA making NFL money. I really would. We're just not quite there yet. I think we're getting there. I think with UFC being all over Fox affiliates, I think with Gladiators of the Cage being on Root, King of the Cage being on MAP TV, I think we're certainly headed in the right direction. But
Bellator and Spike.
Bellator and Spike. I will identify that there is a problem in the middle of the pack. The guys who aren't fighting often, who are fighting once or twice a year, yes, they're able to hold down full-time jobs. They're fighting on smaller cards. The main eventers are clearing millions of dollars a year because, you know, they got the sponsorships, they got the endorsements. It's really the middle of the pack that I think is really hurting the most, and I get that. There's also talk of, like, you know, is there ever going to be a fighters union? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, unions are good. To some industries, I've heard it either way. Unions are good for some industries. Do I think that the unions are going to make Dana White open up his purse strings to pay the middle of the pack? I don't know. I can't speak for Dana White or the UFC. I think that they're trying to pay guys what is fairly, because what they're able to draw. Because I mean, they pay guys with what they're drawing in. So if guys are bringing in or putting butts in the seats, then absolutely they should be paid. I think that we as a sport, we're so infantile right now that we haven't figured that out yet.
All right. Well, when are we gonna figure it out, Albert? Let's get this figured out.
You know, like I think all these guys we're seeing on local fights, I think they're going to be huge. I think it's going to be a matter of.
Well, now let's take a look at the local fighters real quick, because the local fighters oftentimes, what they get paid, at least I'm assuming the pros and the Amis alike, they get paid occasionally by the promoter.
Amis don't get paid.
Amis don't get paid. Okay, hence they are Amis, I guess. The pros on the card, though, they get paid to sell tickets.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like a lot of promotions do a commission system with tickets.
Right.
And where fighters are able to make a commission. I mean, that supplements some things. But again, these guys still got to pay for their memberships to gyms.
They got to pay for gas in their car to get to the next fight.
They do, and like that's why if like you ever see a promoter who's selling his T-shirts, pick one up. I mean, like, not only are you helping that fighter get to the next level, cool swag to wear.
Exactly.
Like you're representing your lifestyle, because I mean, MMA is not just sport. I mean, we are actively involved in a lifestyle. I think we revolve our lives, well, not maybe revolve our entire lives, but I mean, a big part of our lives is getting here together every week and doing this, reporting on MMA, and I mean those lifestyles. I mean, I like what we do. I like going to fights, and I like seeing guys, and I like meeting them, and I like seeing like the big knockouts. It is what it is. I mean, it really boils down to the middle of the pack. I think is feeling it the hardest right now. I think it'll change. I think as we do become more NFL or more MLB like
as time moves on.
Right, but I mean for the right now, these guys are feeling it.
And as the economy changes, and hopefully for the better, more people are going to plunk down money to buy that fighter's T-shirt or buy that promotion's T-shirt, buy the DVDs, buy the pay-per-views, go out to venues that have these events. Even if you're plunking down money, now places that have the pay-per-views like bars and restaurants that charge a fee for that, a cover charge. Now, does a portion of that go to that fight promotion, or
there's royalty fees?
That's what I'm getting at, the royalty fees.
For you and I to get a UFC pay-per-view here at home, we're paying $60.
Right. For
a place like Champs to do it, it's a lot more than $50. I want to say like it's in the couple hundreds.
Right, like Champs, Buffalo Wild Wings. I know that Damon's at one time did it. Hooters has done it.
So I mean, like that $5 cover you're paying. I mean, one, you're not paying $50 at home, which I mean, I do like it watching fights at home. There's a comfort thing. You're like I'm in my area of zen.
But there's something about being out in the restaurant with other fight fans, paying $5 as opposed to $50, $60, sitting down with a beer, with a nice dinner, maybe an appetizer, and just letting loose and having a great time. There's something about that atmosphere as well.
Right. And I mean, all these things we're talking about, I mean, it seems like we're kind of getting off tangent, but it's relevant.
Right.
I mean, we're all talking about the economy of mixed martial arts. Our money is getting to the fighter somehow, because the inflated rate that the bars have to pay for royalties, I mean, is going back to the promotion. The promotion's ultimately filtering it back to the fighters. The restaurants are making money because while we're there, I mean, we're not just sitting there like watch the fight, like no thank you, I'm not thirsty, or or whatever. We're buying food and drink, and I mean that's good too. So getting out there, I mean, $5 and the $30 whatever you're gonna spend on dinner and drinks, certainly going to a very worthy cause.
Unless you're a cheap ass who just orders water. And no, when you go out to the bars, just get yourself a drink. Even if you got to get yourself a Pepsi, okay, just do that. You'll get a Pepsi.
I get several Pepsis.
Yeah, I get a tall.
Yeah, you do.
I can't even measure it on screen. Tall beer.
Yeah, but I mean, like again, all those things are related, and I mean, watching Root TV on August 5th. I mean, that's going to be a huge thing, because I mean, I really think that Chris Dempsey is headed for a bigger event like Bellator.
I think a lot of those guys, and
well, Dominic Mazzata, Mr. Head Kick heard around the tri-state area.
It was the kick heard round the burg.
Yeah, I mean that head kick. Does the name Daryl Horcher mean?
Exactly.
Exactly. Daryl Horcher was fighting on a card in Altoona, and Daryl Horcher had not fought anybody outside of Harrisburg before that fight. Knocks George Shepard out, and the next thing you know, he's headed for Bellator. And I think a Chris Dempsey, a Dominic Mazzata, a Jessica Richmond, I think all those names are headed for bigger and better things, and we're going to help them along by going to a Gladiators of the Cage event, to watching it on Root TV, to watching UFC wherever you possibly can.
So bottom line, fighter pay, not just up to the promoters, it's up to you guys out there.
Right. I mean, if we're putting butts in seats, you're going to a local event, and a guy like Brett Showtime Schoenfeld, who does a phenomenal job of selling tickets.
Right.
Brett is always selling tickets. Charlie, PMAC, I mean, those guys are always doing a great job tickets. If those guys are trying to sell you tickets, get it from them. Because like that's benefiting them. It's helping them train and become more complete athletes. And that's, I think, the final answer on the hot topic for this week.
That's the hot topic for this week. And that's going to do it for Cage Nation TV. We hope you guys enjoyed yourself. We hope you learned a little bit, and we hope you'll come back next week where, how are we going to work this? Because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be on vacation.
We haven't decided yet. Oh, we totally forgot the coolest part.
What?
Of Gladiators of the Cage. We met Jessica Evil Eye.
How could we forget that?
We met Jessica Evil Eye.
You know what? I think there may be an interview. Should we do we want to give it to him now?
We'll decide, but Jessica Evil Eye, being a proud citizen of the Cage Nation that she is.
Jessica Evil Eye. She was on the recap episode.
Totally on the recap. And do you remember what she did for the Cage Nation?
She signed an autograph photo. This is my script.
That's not it.
That's not it. But she autographed a photo. It says, "To the Cage Nation from Jessica Evil Eye." She gave that to us to give to one lucky fan out there.
So
now we're still...
Well, here's how we're going to do it.
All right.
I want you to take to Twitter, and the text you see right here, I want you to tweet that. You're going to tag our Twitter account. You're going to do all that fun hashtag stuff. We're going to pick one of those at random.
Okay.
We're going to pick one of those at random. We're going to contact you saying, hey, thank you for your support as a token of our appreciation and Jessica's fandom. We're going to get you that signed picture. I'm going to even frame it. I'm going to put it in frame.
So if you're not a fan of ours on Twitter, do so. Become a fan of ours on Twitter right now. Use the phrase that pays right down here.
Phrase that pays. I like that.
I'm in radio. It's what I do. Use that, and we'll choose one person at random to win the photo. Now, we do want to mention that if you have any involvement with Cage Nation TV whatsoever, if you're a reporter, if you are a contributor, you are not eligible to win. Sorry, that's the way it goes. And if you've won anything from Cage Nation in the past 30 days, well, that's a miracle because we haven't given anything away up until now.
I mean, you do get a lot of hugs, but I mean, I don't think that's essentially winning for them.
I got a hug from Jessica Richmond. I have my wrists held by Jessica Evil Eye. Told me to wait right here. She'd be right back to autograph my photo.
I honestly thought she was going to punch you in the face.
It would have been an honor.
So, and then in the next week or so, tweet the phrase that pays, and one of you guys are going to get the
Jessica Evil Eye.
Yes.
But if Jessica Richmond wants to send us an autograph photo that we can give away, we'll do that too.
So, I'm Albert Cameron. This is the man, Drew Shannon. You're watching Cage Nation TV. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you again, hopefully next week, but if not, the week after.
I will not be here next week. I will be vacationing. So if you see him next week, you will not see me, and I will return in 2 weeks. And no, my cousin Eldrew Shanico will not be here. I like my cousin.
Someone has to.
See you next time.
Let's go! Ah!